Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of the Business Day SME Clinic. This edition is in conjunction with NetPOS. NetPOS is an e-business and software company with global solutions in e-commerce, e-payments, and digital trends. Today, we'll gain insights into the future of payments for SMEs in Nigeria. My name is Satira Osemudiame, founder of Satira Media and PR. I will be the moderator for this discussion. To provide us with projections and trends on the future of payments for small and medium businesses are 4 expert professionals in the tech finance sector, and I will be introducing them shortly. I would just like us to listen, take notes, and if you have any questions, there's a question and answer button here. You can put in your questions, and when it's time for our Q&A session, would review your questions. Thank you. So, firstly, I would like to introduce our speakers. So I have Precious Ekezie. Is the MD CEO of Call Phone Limited, an impact-driven payment solution and virtual service distribution provider. He's a fintech expert and business development strategist. He's been consulting and advising businesses, especially in the digital currency and fintech space for years. He's also a fintech project manager, business developer, digital branding and marketing pro that helps companies transform into a business that meets their market needs. And interestingly, on the 25th of April, 2022, Callphone became the first fintech in Nigeria to be granted full commercial license by the CBN as a payment solution service. So, Mr. Precious, welcome to this webinar.
All right, thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nice to be here. Thanks.
Yeah, all right. We also have Mr. Asha Deniyi. He's the co-founder of and CEO of EasyPay. EasyPay is a payroll payment processing company in Lagos. From successfully building giddy jobs to becoming one of the top job boards in Nigeria, Asha leads EasyPay to solve pay. He strongly believes in human potential as a possibility of, and not a finality, sorry. Welcome, Mr. Asha. Welcome to this webinar. Can we all hear me? Hello, Mr. Asha, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. I think probably my internet went off a bit. Hi, everyone.
Yes,
good morning.
Welcome.
It's nice to be here.
To this webinar. We also have Mr. Timileyin. He's the head of business operations at Number.com. He's a financial inclusion activist and with hands-on mentality and experience in building customer-centric products. He understands the Nigerian payment space and the wealth of connections to form useful partnerships and business activities to secure reliable electronic payment services to merchants, businesses, consumers across all platforms. Mr. Timileyin, you are welcome to this webinar.
Yeah, good morning. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. We have Mr. Bamidele here, so I will do the introduction because he wasn't here when we first started. Mr. Bamidele is the chief Business and Commercial Officer of netplus.com, our partners for this webinar. He's fascinated by the enormous opportunities in the digital payments acceptance space. He strongly believes that payments should not be included in the list of issues bothering business owners, which is why he's focused on developing low-cost digital payment acceptance tools for small and micro businesses. You're welcome, Mr. Bamidele.
Thank you so much, Satura. Good morning, all. Great to be here.
Good morning, everyone. Yes, good morning. So today we would be discussing the future of payments for SMEs in Nigeria. And briefly, I would like every one of us, so I would start with Mr. Bamidele. What can you say is digital payments and why is it important?
Hi, good morning, everyone. Once again, thank you for your question, Satura. Can you hear me, please?
Yes, we can hear you.
Oh, great stuff, great stuff, great stuff. Okay, so first of all, something I want to chip in here. One of the reasons why, yes, I intend to do that, but I noticed there's something with my bandwidth, so I wasn't sure it's what I had on stable internet, so that's why I had to go off. But if you can hear me clearly, I think I'll just keep it on, right?
Yes, we can.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you so much. Okay, so I would, to answer your question, I'll give an example. I think I like giving examples. So I imagine myself as a businessman, right? I'm in my own space, and I tend to just collect cash, right? Everything about me is just cash. And what that seems to do to me is like kind of exposes me to everything, every of the risk that's associated with actually having cash. One, I become a target in my area, in quotes, right? People can always reach out, things can happen. We've had instances in the past where people have stores and are seen, or maybe some markets, maybe there's a fire or something, and you hear that people have lost billions and millions in their stores because, you just kept cash, right? Imagine if I didn't have cash, if I was able to extend my option beyond just cash, and I could actually have, sitting down, I could actually have a sense of how much is coming in without it being cash. And what I would also then do for me is apart from giving me that safety and that peace of mind, I'm not a target of people who want to come to reach me to maybe to rob me or things like that. I also have more or less like a track, like a trail, right? With that, I can then go to banks. I can use that to access finance, right? Banks will see that I'm actually having such amount of, it's clear, you can see it. You can see that I have such amounts of turnover. And of course, I can then have access to credit. And from there, every other service I can get try the financial industry. So that's basically how I'd like to define digital payment. It's also because today we've noticed today that our customers, especially when it comes to the trends, customers have changed. We noticed today, just before COVID, yes, cash has always been king, but we noticed that during the COVID period, cash transactions that have to do with cash, we've had more transactions that are digitally based. People's habits have changed. People want to be able to use their phones, right? Before we didn't have mobile phones, so cash was king. Your wallet was your king. But today, I have my mobile phone. I want to be able to use my mobile phone, use my wallet, different things to make payments. Trends are changing. People want to have more. People want to have a lot of ease to make payment. This is why I think it's very important that businesses, merchants are actually in a position to have quite a number of omni-channels that support digital payments. Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting. And you even answered my question, because we're also going to ask, like, why would what were we doing before COVID came into the world? And you just answered that. Mr. Asha, would you like to also tell us what, thank you, Mr. Bamidele. Yeah. Mr. Asha, would you like to tell us what digital payments is? As the CEO of EasyPay. Like, what would you tell your customers?
Well, I think that Mr. Omolehiwa has done a justice to it. But if I might just add maybe something, it shouldn't really be far-fetched from what he has said. I remember in 2003 when I was just learning how to use a computer and the internet. Even at that time, I had a crush and I was sending her, notes across, I think, 2 states, I would
Wow.
send letters to her, but when Facebook came, that was, I had several people I could just reach, not just one person, right? So it's same thing with payments, right? When you think about payment, you want to think about how to receive payments, how to spend it, how to save or invest. Do you get? So using digital makes that process simple. And as we go ahead, as we go ahead into this session, we now begin to look at, how is our current behavior and our projected behavior, changing the way we now, make this payment, So we've left I think that we have, left the era of making payments, of maybe building APIs for payment and all that. Now is, how do you make it super fast? How do you make it borderless? And how do you make it cheap for people to use? And also, of course, we'll talk about inclusive payment or inclusion. Right. So so just making payments simple across all these different value points.
Oh, thank you for that. So I will still ask you this question. In the last decade, there have been this growing shift towards digital payments, and based on what you just said, towards digital payments, and a strong debate among the government, central bank. We've been having different regulations towards digital payments and services, and also the financial institutions and experts. It seems everybody has different things to say about digital payments. So what would you say are the benefits SMEs and even customers can derive from digital payments? And are you saying that the Nigerian government are not trying to be progressive about digital payments?
Of course, I would say the Nigerian government is progressive. I'm in a public space. I think that, when we look at payments, there are traditional owners of the space, which is first the central banks and the banks. They're like traditional owners. And, when you're trying to break tradition or in any sector, or even if it's in a family, there are what they call strongholds that you are going to encounter, and you have to break them. You have to change the way people think about payment. And we young people and the upcoming young people, the millennials and the Gen Zs, they are not really given to being slow. They just move fast and look for opportunity to disrupt. I think that's where there is just that misunderstanding, of okay, we can actually make payments better. I mean, you can also, when crypto started, people thought, and people still think, like even if you listen to Bill Gates and Warren Buffett of recent, they still think that there is no value to Bitcoin. They still think that there's no, it doesn't make sense. But you see, not just young person, but you see like maybe young person that's had like Elon Musk saying that, oh, there's probably value here. So it's just breaking that traditional mindset of, this is the way we've been doing things, but we are now saying that there is a better way. We have technology is advancing in so many ways. I mean, we are going to actually be doing payment literally at the tip of our fingers very soon, and we are getting there. I mean, we're already, I see the NFC behind someone, I think it's Mr. Bamdele I saw NFC cards and all that. We're already getting there. We're getting there where you can actually make payments without your card. You know, we're getting to a point where you can have one card for all your bank accounts. These are things that are alien to the traditional mindsets. You know, that, oh, we want to keep your information in one bank so that we know who is transacting with us. We don't want any fraud, you know, but we're saying that is the era of open banking, right? And we can have all this information in one place. So I think that as we move forward, as we grow, some of us will be in decision rooms where we can also influence some of these decisions. It might not happen in one day, but we see transformation, right? And we see progress, especially in Nigeria. Like, Nigeria is actually leading in a lot of things. And even with open banking, Nigeria is leading. You know, if you look at the West, for instance, settlements in one day is still a huge challenge. You know, even in a place like America, you have to, most payment companies have to borrow a lot of money to settle in one day and fulfill payments. You know, so those are that's my thoughts about breaking that cycle.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Asha. Now this brings me, because you said Nigeria is and this for Mr. Precious. Mr. Asha said Nigeria is leading in the digital payment space and everything. So what would you say is the future of digital payments, Mr. Precious? And do you think, oh, we've said Nigeria is ready. So can you tell us the future or your prediction about future digital payments in Nigeria in the future? Mr. Precious, this is for you. Hello.
All right. Thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Yeah, sorry, my video is off. The environment that I am. Like, answering the question you just asked, the reality today and future of payment, fintech has disrupted virtually all aspects of the financial services, thereby setting a new paradigm for assessing payments, which include bill payment, travels and hospitality, education, agriculture, medical, and the likes. So from banking halls to we now having artificial intelligence, big data, blockchain, and edge computing that makes financial services accessible to all. If you look in the past where people go about carrying metals, coins to the banks as a source of accessing financial services, it's quite different at this time. And the future of payments, it's obvious leading towards artificial intelligence, the blockchain technologies. And this is something that in this part of the world we cannot shy away from. We have to embrace that. We've seen solutions in the Nigerian market cutting across this type of technology. Is the future of payments as far as Africa and Nigeria is concerned. We have to adopt this future of payment, the realities that it presents to us. I could remember a time we were working on a solution on blockchain, which involves using cryptocurrency to be able to pay for utility bills. So I see a situation where, in as much as we have regulation on cryptocurrency, and we have to obey the APES banking, which is the CBN, in respect to cryptocurrency. But we hope at a point we can be able to use cryptocurrency.
Hello. Can anyone hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
It's Precious. Okay. Mr. Precious, I think your internet got off a little bit. Hello?
So I'm sorry, my internet disrupted. I don't know if you can still hear me.
Yes, we can hear you now.
Yeah, I was just trying to just lay to bear the future of payments for Nigeria and also Africa. I will just citing an example where a solution around cryptocurrency being used to pay utility bills, used to pay airtime bills and the likes. And just like Asha was mentioning earlier on, we had to follow the regulation that is being set by the Central Bank of Nigeria in respect to cryptocurrency. And in as much as we have to work within the regulations that governs payments in Nigeria, we look forward to the time when there will be a review on the issue of cryptocurrency, the best interest of the businesses, the reason why it is not allowed for financial institutions to process payment for crypto-enabled platform and the likes. So, and we hope we have a future where those gray areas can be able to be covered via regulation so that we can be able to explore the future that payments bring for us in respect to blockchain technology, where in Nigeria we are already exploring the artificial intelligence and the likes. So, and we hope that we can be able to leverage on the benefit that technology, the future of technologies like cryptocurrency brings to the business. So,
yeah.
So that's my take on that.
Oh, thank you very much. And based on what you said about the regulatory bodies like CBN or NCC, can you let us know how these regulatory bodies can help to expand access to transaction amounts and the use of electronic payments services in Nigeria? Because they are very important and we need to expand if we want to get to that future we've talked about. So how can they help to expand it? Just buttressing that point you mentioned. Yeah.
Okay, I must tell you, the central bank, the regulators in the business have been doing quite good. I would say it's different from what we used to have in some time past. So I think the regulators here have been able to, meet with the trending needs, the trending technology, and they've continued to evolve. Something about regulation is that we always do our best to get it right. And I believe CBN is always doing their best to get it right. We had a point where it was just the banks that we can be able to access payments and the likes. But now we have CBN opening up the regulation. We have the likes of businesses like ours who could access payment service license. We have the likes of MTN, the Momo, the NIPSBs, the Airtel, and the likes being given licenses for payment service banks. So I think the regulatory authorities are beginning to become flexible, and I believe it is also in the best interest of the users that the regulatory authorities have what they have in place. But they've continued to evolve. And the truth, like just what you mentioned, we have to expand. And we have, in respect to expanding, one of the meetings which the CBN governor was able to cite areas on financial inclusion. And the CBN has been fighting and making sure that the financial inclusion is being leveraged. We are able to penetrate areas where people do not have access to banking facilities, do not have access to digital payment, USSD code. And I believe so many of the fintechs and banking institutions have their USSD code. And with the USSD code, people have been able to make payment accessible to those that have no internet coverage. So I think the likes of NCC, the likes of the CBN, which the apex regulator, are becoming very, very flexible and are beginning to adapt the trend in technology and being able to still open it up. And I believe they can still do more so that we can expand, like just what you said, and we can be able to, compete with the likes of other countries who have leveraged the future of technology and are even being innovative to the extent that we've not gotten to yet.
That's very insightful, and thank you very much, Mr. Precious. So, Mr. Timileyin, we've been talking about financial inclusion, like Mr. Precious just mentioned it, Asha mentioned it, and I know you are passionate about financial inclusion. We also know that having efficient, accessible, and safe payment systems and services is necessary to be able to extend access to this transaction account. So how would we say, how can these digital payments help this financial inclusion we've been talking about? Mr. Timileyin.
Thank you very much, Satira. Good morning and again to everyone. Sorry, just so that my voice can be clear, and my internet bandwidth is not shared with the video, so I'm just going to stick with the audio because of shaky internet. Yeah, back to the question. Financial inclusion, we have about 200 million people in Nigeria today, right? And we still have, at least we can boldly say, we still have over 100 million people that haven't gotten swift access to financial services, right? I mean, that kind of just shows the opportunity that is still existing in that sector. Digital payments, right, rides on digital infrastructure. So by the time we're talking about how digital payment is coming to aid financial inclusion, we are also going to be talking about the infrastructure that powers it. The reality is that for the next stage of things that we want to achieve, we have a lot of infrastructure work to do, which also presents opportunity for a lot of companies building that kind of service. Definitely, what we are talking about in financial services is majorly exchange of value, right? And how do we capture the value that is being exchanged in a local market for someone that doesn't have a bank account? How do we capture the exchange of value in a faraway village for someone that doesn't have access to the internet, right? And of course, capture this value and be able to present it digitally. So just like I said, I think the simple answer is financial inclusion digital payments helping financial inclusion depends on the infrastructure penetration that we're having, right? What is the mobile penetration? Thank God for things like agency banking, right? Agency banking has been a way to bridge this gap. And if we look at the data since the advent of agency banking coming into mainstream, 7 years ago, the financial inclusion rate has accelerated, right, in the country. Actually, this is what is driving financial inclusion today. If you look at the model, it's simply you are using other people that are digitally included to gather the people that are not digitally included, right? And we are still going to see a lot of more innovation around this side. With that, where we are going to have more neobank style of payment service as a way to adopt all these offline payment. So yeah, I think that's the way forward. I think neobank is going to be the bridge between financial inclusion and digital payment going forward. If you look at the timeline of how these two services are going to grow, when are we going to have a total mobile penetration in Nigeria? That's a question to think about. When are we going to have a total internet penetration in Nigeria to 100%? It is going to happen, but we are still probably 2 decades or 4, or maybe even more than that away from that. But payments and service exchange and financial inclusion has to accelerate faster than that. So the use of agency banking is going to be the way to bridge that gap. Now, it's a question of how are you going to empower these agents to be able to do more of that? How are you going to empower people like that? All right. So we're going to have a lot of new ideas coming in about how to actually make these agents proper mini banks that they can even do more and onboard a lot of all these offline transactions today. Yeah, so we're looking forward to things like maybe banking as a service extending eventually, right? Yeah. Open banking is also there as one of the ways to bridge this gap. So I think that answers the question.
Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Timileyin. And I'm going to get back to you shortly. If you're just joining us, welcome. This is the Future of Payments for SMEs, organized by Business Day in partnership with NetUS. If you have any questions for any of our speakers, there's a chat button where you can send in your questions. And during our Q&A session, we would answer all your questions. Now, Mr. Timileyin, I'm still with you on this. You said, talked about this financial inclusion and all that. But in an effort to predict the future of digital payments, what are the guiding principles and actions? Because you said there should be actions, there should be things the government should do. What are the guiding principles and actions the government can take to advance access to transaction accounts, which can serve as the gateway which you talked about to broader financial inclusion? So what are these guiding principles?
Yeah, so it's going to be rooted in the policies that is being made around financial services in Nigeria. And I think the CBN has been making a lot of effort in that area, trying to create a broader view for a lot of players to come in, right? Trying to create new licenses like the PSP license, allowing the telcos to come on board, because they saw that by the time, I mean, it started with the banks alone, right? By the time it came up with guidelines for super agency and people rode on that, they saw the growth. Now they are also trying to cautiously bring in a lot more players to the telcos, right? And also trying to like redefine a lot of the policies. So we're in, I know that there's been the first hearing around I think the fintech bill of startup bill and all these things. The truth is, entrepreneurs are the ones that will drive it. Innovators are the ones that will drive it. A lot of startup disruptors are the ones that will drive this thing. But what needs to happen is, first of all, we need new infrastructure, honestly. And I know every fintech person here would agree to that. We need more people like InterSwitch. We need more processing channel based on what we're having today. People doing large volume of transactions today, we already know the problems that we have, the downtimes that we are facing from a lot of the banks today. We are even still struggling with powering the volume of transaction that is coming on board today, the growth that has happened today. So talk less of when you now have the old 200 million people on board, right? So infrastructure and policies are two major things that we need to get right, that is going to enhance this growth in us getting to this place faster. So in terms of, and of course, it's also deeply rooted in engineering, right? Which is we need to build new rails, we need to build new approach to solving problems, right? We need to build new approach to processing transaction. It's an exchange of value. How can we make sure that people trust the system? The reality is that the trust in digital payment is also dropping currently. In the past 3 or 4 months, I know a lot of people, even with our traditional bank, that are the most trusted. A lot of us have faced a lot of downtimes with them from a lot of the major banks over time.
What kind of downtimes?
Oh, yeah, I mean, transfers, right? I mean, we've had a lot of, now if you're even transferring, if you're making payments with your bank apps now, people don't even trust it fully. And you've seen a lot of memes on Twitter saying, if you're using a particular bank, just hold your cash, because, and don't eat, pay before you eat. Right now, those are the realities of the growth, and the volumes are skyrocketing. You can't build a future of digital payment on an infrastructure like that, because that's even for people that understand. Someone that doesn't understand payment, that just want to see the exchange of value, experiencing things like that, you are not going to have the time to explain to them. You know, I know this thing is built about trust. It's built around trust, right? So the infrastructure has to be trustworthy. Like the infrastructure that is going to power this has to be an infrastructure that can actually accommodate the transactions that are coming on board. It will. So even with the likes of MTN coming in, what will make us use it? What will make us use all this channel? Because the truth is, we're all doing the same thing through different channels. The underlying fact is exchange of value digitally, right? Which is whether I'm paying you, whether I'm transferring money to you, I'm collecting money from you, I'm sending money to everywhere. It's just movement of value around. And I just want to be sure that we are getting it instantly, as fast as possible, right, without hiccups. Even if I have a problem, I want to be sure that it can be resolved, right? So, and there are a lot of players involved in this, right? There are a lot of points of failure involved in all this transaction processing. And all these players involved have to up their processing. They have to up the standard of infrastructure, or else we are going to do a lot of work trying to bring people on board and we're going to fail them, right? So, yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Timileyin. So it is just right to say that without these financial infrastructures, efficient provision of various transaction accounts and electronic will be very difficult. Is that right?
I mean, yes, you can say that.
Yes. Thank you so much, Mr. Timileyin. So, Mr. Bamidele, we would like to know, how can small and medium businesses in Nigeria measure the effectiveness of financial inclusion efforts from a payments perspective? Mr. Bamidele.
Okay, hi, Sita. So your question, okay.
Should I repeat my question? Okay.
Yes, please.
I said, how can small and medium businesses in Nigeria measure the effectiveness of financial inclusion efforts from a payments perspective?
Cool, thank you so much. And once again, I would also use an example, I guess, and I usually like using illustrations. So
yeah, no, that's fine.
Let's assume I'm able to convert. Okay, and actually use a real life example. When I was in school, I had a classmate. Her name is Bisola. Hi, Bisola, just in case you're saying this. Bisola is very good. Bisola is someone who is very good with them. She's very good in confection, and she's one of the best bakers I know, right? Her bread and her cakes are just fantastic. However, every single time I have to go and every single time she does it on a small scale, because of course she also has her 9 to 5.
Okay.
Every single time I want to buy from her, I have to pay with cash, right? You can imagine the scale of her business. Technically, it's actually quite small. You know, she can't. Since she's basically, if for the right word in this regard, scaling it up on the business itself, apart from injecting funds maybe from her 9 to 5, she can't get financials. You know, she can't. She won't be able to get a bank to support her to scale up, because of course, eventually, I'm sure by now, because she's good at what she does, she should be able to have other branches across, and people should be able to know about her. But imagine if I'm able to introduce, and I'm going to start with the basic one because something Timmy said, which is very key, is that digital infrastructure actually it's very important for people. So I'm going to assume for her, to make it simple for her, I give her a POS, right? For POS, and she's able to start. She's able to, so for instance, she can decide to deploy in another shop and have a POS where she's just collecting POS, or she has options where people can go. She can decide, if you're able to digitalize your payments, it means you can digitalize every other part of your business. So she can then decide to use maybe Instagram, right, or maybe Facebook also as a place where she can also sell, right? When her customers actually like, she's able to project the cakes, beautiful pictures, people like it, they want to pay. Imagine if I was restricted to paying with cash. Imagine if someone like me, of course, I said that my classmate would know that with no way back, I would always buy from her, but not everybody would do that. So imagine if she's not able to digitalize, her marketing efforts. You need to be able to imagine also the digital payment aspect of it. If she's able to successfully get this done, maybe in another store, maybe on the island, maybe at Ikoyi, maybe even at Bagada or something like that. Already, you start to begin to see that she's beginning to scale, right? She's scaling her business, she's getting that from everyone. And of course, eventually, she might decide to begin to scale it even further because apart from getting customers' footprint, she's also able to have something she can use to go and have discussions with the bank. Basically, in some set of questions, right? As long as it helps and supports her business, it ties into her business model of scaling to help. But also, I think one of the things you'd also like to evaluate with is also how easy and how convenient is it? Because that's also very, very important. Most businesses want to look for solutions. That's something we need to remember clearly. So in developing the solutions, you have to focus on two parts. How do you onboard me in a way to use the solutions and that defends my margins? We know how our merchants defend their margins. They want a solution that would ensure that, okay, yes, you're increasing my assets, but also you're taking from my margins. So I believe any solution that should be targeted at people, especially smaller micro, should be something that assists them to scale. One, also something that is low cost, that is affordable, right? Yeah, in that regard. There are quite a number of things. I mentioned also, as you mentioned in introduction, these are kind of things that we look out for because we look out for people like imagine you're going on the road, right, and you want to buy looking for something that is very, 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 very basic. Maybe you want to buy some ground, but okay, even in traffic, right? Even in traffic, for instance, right? You're in traffic and maybe there's traffic and you want to buy something from one of those hawkers, something that works, something that would help them in that regard. Because those guys really and truly, we can't, individually, they might be micro, but when you combine them collectively as a group, it becomes high volume, right? Just imagine what will happen. Imagine the effect they will have collectively, right? And how that can also impact every of the other players also in the sector space. So basically, just summarize what I've said. I guess a merchant can measure digital payment solutions, the effectiveness of them, about how it can align with their businesses, right? And of course, every business wants to scale. Every business is there to scale. And also the fact that it doesn't have a significant impact on their margins. Every businessman wants to defend his or her margins.
Thank you very much. So based on the POS conversation you just mentioned, you mentioned POS using the use of POS. Yes. So how easy is it to get one these days? And what are the pros and cons of getting or of using one?
That's a great question. How easy is it to get it? Fantastic. Thank you. So one of the reasons why you'll have to excuse my illustration, but one of the reasons why Bisola, I said today, does not have a POS because, in quotes, she's not the ideal customer. What do I mean by that? Who today actually injects POSs? To a certain extent, most of it is driven by the financial, I'll say by the banks, right? I don't know if you are aware of this information that we have close to 50 million SMEs today in Nigeria, but the number of active POSs we have today are less than 1 million POSs. So that basically tells you that you have an addressable market of less than 2%. And even with this 2% I mentioned, most of it is on banking. And my fellow panelists have spoken a lot about the issue of banking. Banks have seen really and truly where the volumes tend to come from to a certain extent, and the value they're looking for agency banking. So you have more of this 1 million devices actually being for agency banking. So what it means is that someone like Bisola would never get a POS, right? Because banks, the POSs cost some money, right? They cost some money, and the models the banks have today is that they would use your turnover, right, as a basis to deploy a POS to you. And you'll notice, just in case you go to the stores, so you go to the big stores and you want to buy something, you notice that these guys have 3 or 4 POSs. So even they are just marketing quotes, right? The merchants among these 50 million that have it, you'll see 4 or 5 POSs. The question you'll ask is what happens to the rest of them? They never get POSs, so they never have that opportunity, right? So a channel in this regard is often. What do we think, or how do we think this can actually be addressed, right? There's, I think I'll just say, we strongly, as I said earlier, we strongly believe this shouldn't be the case. And one of the things that is being introduced, and one of the things that we're constantly working on, especially here at NetPulse, is seeing how can we make that a lot easier? How can we use the resources available to the merchants today, right? So Bisola today has a Samsung phone, right? As I said, that is Samsung phone. And we thought about how could we convert her Samsung phone, right, to a POS, so that rather than her waiting online, right, for the banks to give her, which we know will never happen, how can we actually get her to use her phone as a POS? And that's one of the solutions today we actually deploy. It's as simple. The backend works just like your traditional POS, the setup of parameters exactly like a POS, but it's just that you simply just download an application on your telephone and you start collecting value, you start collecting payments from your customers via NFC-enabled cards. So the truth is that today it's really difficult for the small businesses. I'll be frank with you. They don't qualify based on their turnover. But today, I said one of the things we're working on is to ensure that issue is addressed, and it's a lot more easier today with solutions that we're able to develop.
All right, thank you so much. For those who just joined us, we're still discussing about the future of payments in Nigeria. We've discussed financial inclusion and how it affects all of us and small businesses, and why it's important for Nigeria to start looking about at the future of digital payments. So I would like to ask Mr. Asha, what's the advantage and disadvantage of card payments? We're talking of a cashless society, and now we're going into digital payments. We have the POS, we have the cards. What is that advantage and disadvantage of card payments to the e-commerce business or platforms?
All right. So you said card, right? Not cash.
Yeah, card. No, card.
Okay.
Card.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, very, very straightforward. I think one of the major advantage is security. And also another advantage for them is fast and easy access to their money. Since settlement is almost instant in Nigeria, or within 24 hours, or we say 12 hours, so they get their cash, instantly, and it's safe. When you pile a lot of cash, you still have to take it to the bank, and the CBN has put some regulations around enforcing the fact that you have to use cards so that they can trace transactions. So even if you take, as an individual, I think if you take above 500K to the bank, you'll be charged, for depositing cash. So if you're a business owner, you want to, do a lot of your transaction using card. And also because, and that's why we talk about inclusion, because you can get cash everywhere. But card is not as ubiquitous, so you have to actually transact in places where there are no network issues, and all these kind of things will not really happen. But we're in Nigeria, So, but thankfully, like most of my colleagues said, they've created several solutions that aid, card deposits and card transactions, like the USSD. So that also helps e-commerce or online business, and it's not just e-commerce business and online business. I mean, card transactions that are not processed online can also be processed, with the POS that you just said. So, apart from there are obviously other advantages around, when you have a veritable or verifiable means of transaction, you have easy access to credit as a business owner. It means that the auditors are not asking you, where did you get this cash from? Can we see? So you can see, and we also a particular news this morning, not mentioning names, and when you can't verify the source of transactions is an issue for auditors, so you have to prove, at the end of the day, every financial business has a responsibility to prove their transaction. And that's why we also do due diligence and ID verification on all customers before they begin to do, volumes of transactions. So, I mean, if someone is coming to a filling station or a supermarket to just transact, by buying stuff there, that's fine. But when you start to transact huge volumes every day, then it's a cause for verification. So that helps businesses, and I mean that has happened to us before, where transactions are easily verified, and you have access to huge line of credits from not just local businesses but international financial institutions. So that helps. So if you want to build a track record of a good business that does its business well, and card transactions are better for you, and I mean there are various cards available. You have the Verve, the MasterCard, and Visa. Yeah.
All right, thank you so much. And this leads to a follow-up question based on what you said to Mr. Precious. As a small business or medium business owner, what would you say is the best digital payment form for a business owner? Like, which digital payments best suits small or medium businesses in Nigeria? If you were to be asked for an advice on this. This for Mr. Precious, sorry. Is he on this call? Mr. Precious?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, I can now.
Okay, quick to the question, the best advice for an SME in respect to digital payment or digital solution. First, there are several digital payment solutions that a small, medium enterprise can leverage on. We have a quite number of them.
Like which one? Can you name some more?
We've seen, yeah, I was about going to that. So we've seen SMEs go into partnership with becoming super agents, let's say for the agency banking aspect of business. As a small, medium business, you could channel your attention towards that end, but also channeling your attention towards that end. It has to be, I always advise, first you start a business where you have passion for. If you do not have a passion for the business you're doing, it's quite difficult for you to excel. In this space, we've seen those who are just into agency banking and are making very much well in that aspect. Small businesses starting as agency banking, some go as much as leveraging on licenses that other bigger players in the industry have already. and they are making well in that aspect. Some also go as far as starting up an e-commerce business and also leveraging on APIs from those that are already doing well in the industry, and they are able to do well in that aspect. So my advice would be first, for any digital payment solution that you want to engage in, first, you need to have the passion for that very business. And your team also, you need to have a team that's made up of people that have passion to grow that business.
Okay. But you're talking of it on a business angle. I'm talking about it on a consumer. I want to use this to solve a payment issue
Profits
in my
that comes
business.
out from each of.
Yes, yes. So what would be the best option? If I'm not working as a business now, I want to use it as a consumer. What digital payment option would you advise me to use as a business, small business, medium business?
Yeah, as a small business, I would advise via the in our space, via the agency digital payment solution. That's what I would advise, because that gives you an opportunity to have a startup fund that will not be a challenge for you to start up. You could grow your business gradually by leveraging on agency payment solutions. This, if I get your question correctly, and also to advise of starting up in this space where you can be able to manage, starting up with minimal finance and minimal resources while growing your business.
Okay. I don't think you got my question right.
Okay.
I'm saying, what digital payment best suits businesses, especially SMEs? If I want to use this to create transactions with my customers, what digital business payment service do I use? Which one is best for me?
Okay, you're talking, let's narrow it down to, let's say, talking about if I'm doing a business and I want to integrate a solution that will best suit my business.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, for that aspect, I would say, if you're a business, you could leverage on taking your business online to become an e-commerce, an e-store. And the solution that you could leverage is being able to integrate with payment gateway solution on the platform. So your customers can be able to log in and buy things on your platform and be able to check out very seamlessly. So I would say leveraging on the e-commerce aspect of business in integrating payment solutions like the payment gateway on the platform, that will be able to let you have a very seamless reach to your consumers to be able to purchase on your platform.
Okay. So what now is the most secure and fastest mode of collecting payments? Because we've talked about a lot of things. So which is the fastest and most secure?
I would say, okay, the e-collections, let's say the payment gateway collection is fast. And I would say in terms of security, depends on the provider of the solution. So that's why we have things like the PCI compliance. That's why we have things like the ISO. So it's the security have to do with the owner of the platform, the providers, taking cognizance of the fact that security is the ultimate priority when it comes to payments. If your platform is not secured, you could allow fraudsters or scammers to have access to vital information like card details and the likes of it. So first, in security, you have to be PCI DSS compliance, and aside that, also you have to have an in-house technical team that understand perfectly well the importance of security. And also in security also involves the owner of the business, because most times people infiltrate or scammers are able to get access just maybe you receive an email that sends you to click on a link. So you have to educate the staff or the team that the security of every platform or any solution that you integrate begins with you.
All right. We have all right, that is good. This, my last question is to Mr. Thank you, Mr. Precious. My last question is to Mr. Timileyin. Can you tell us more about this crypto payments? Because people are saying, like, I think it was Mr. Precious that said there was a time you had to use crypto to pay a utility bill and everything. Not many of us understand cryptocurrency and how we can use it as a payment form. So can you throw more light to that and tell us if there are any advantages to it or disadvantages to it, Mr. Timileyin?
Okay, yeah, thank you. I mean, interesting that the crypto question is falling on my laps. Yeah. Well, crypto is basically another form of money that has been created, right, to exchange payments. And the most important thing about value exchange is it has to be understood by both parties, right? So before we can say you want to start using crypto to pay for your utility bills, the first question is the companies that you are paying to, do they accept it, right? Do they have a crypto wallet too, right? And what particular cryptocurrency are you guys using to pay? I mean, those are the questions that needs to be answered in a Nigerian space right now, where CBN is frowning at crypto transactions. I'm not sure any utility company, right, would boldly come out and say they are interested in taking payment in crypto. So that's still something that is that every Nigerian still tread carefully in terms of discussing. But the reality is, in the future time, hopefully CBN changes its mind. Is it possible? Yes, right. Today, people are using crypto to trade around the world. It's just a store of value also, right? Like other currency, but it's accepted and it's backed by a different system, popularly called the blockchain systems. They are kind of keeps records of the transaction history without allowing it to change, right? So yeah. Honestly, yes, it's, if the country accepts it, it's a big possibility, right? As long as it's still value, it's still money, it's just going to have a conversion rate also, right? But till then, yeah, I think can just leave the crypto topic to be as it is.
All right, thank you so much. Before I go to other speakers, can you tell us how your company is helping the future of digital payments in Nigeria for small and medium businesses? In just
thank you.
1 minute.
Yeah, I mean, we at Number, we are building a wide range of payment acceptance modes and collection modes for businesses in Nigeria, merchants, agents, every type of business. And we are building a number of very interesting infrastructure that is going to make this payment very easy, right, through the traditional means. We are also looking at, of course, capturing all rails of transaction: card, cash, NQR, USSD, yeah, every payment type involved is the service we are providing to our businesses today, and also helping these businesses make the best, get the best out of their business in terms of record keeping, inventory, and all these things. So we're building a lot of these interesting tools that's going to help businesses grow. And of course, as you've seen outside there, women business has been motto that's been going around. So yeah, I think that's what we are doing at Numbum. And thank you for the platform.
All right, before I also let you go, there's a question for you here. It said there was a fuss by the Nigerian government about crypto being a fraud in some way. What was that about, and where are we on that now?
Of course,
I know you slightly talked about
from the government's perspective.
Thank you, Chioma.
Yeah, thank you for the question. I say from the government's perspective, if something is not officially accepted, of course, they are not going to associate with it, right? Of course, a lot of crypto companies have since then entered conversations with the central bank in terms of trying to find a common ground to it. The challenge is the crypto transactions are hidden from the government, compared to the normal business transactions today. So every transaction that happens in Nigeria today, there is payment, is either going to definitely go through a licensed company by the CBN. And the meaning of that is one way or the other, the data is going to get back to the CBN, right? So when you have crypto transactions, what is happening is government is not going to see the money, right? The money is going to come out of thin air and go back into thin air. And then you just see money appear in someone's account, you see money disappear in someone's account. So it's a black box, right, for the government. So that is why the government has taken a step back away from it. And because a lot of the volume of transaction that is happening there is actually significant enough to move the economic landscape, right? So if you have a black box that can influence the economy and nobody can see it, of course, it's just natural to want to, first of all, try and come to terms with it or understand it before adopting it. So I think that's what's happening.
There also goes back to my Nigeria, if we're trying to be progressive or not, but let's not go into that conversation. Yeah. Thank you so much, Mr. Timile. Thank you so much. Mr. Asha, we know EasyPay is your baby, and how is EasyPay affecting the future of payments in Nigeria? Can you let us know, just briefly?
How is EasyPay affecting future of payment? I mean, we build our infrastructure on existing payment infrastructure, even though we have direct linkages with some government infrastructures like the bank. Well, for the audience, I would say that EasyPay is a payroll payment firm. So we provide software, SaaS software for organizations to make their payroll payments within 5 minutes. So you're making your salaries, your HMO, NHF, payee, pension, social insurance, life insurance, assurance, NSITF, everything, instead of you making payment and reporting all these things monthly, EasyPay takes care of that legwork and makes the payment, gives you the full reports and your receipts from the government for the government transactions and every other thing. So in terms of the future of payment, I think eventually, as it directly relates to what we do now, is how we can facilitate cross-border payments across African countries and across the world. So if you have employees across, African countries, how can we facilitate payments from one single point to your different employees? So like I said, well, obviously, if we don't really need to build a payment infrastructure for this, because infrastructure already exists that we can leverage on, so all we need to do is to ensure that, all these all the individuals across the various points are verified, and it takes care of it. And then we can also make payments in different currencies because there are different geographies, and we can also make payments in digital currencies as the case may be, So that's what we think the future of the payroll payment itself will be. But it also expands to other values that customers need, and that will also be done. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asha. Thank you so much. Mr. Precious.
Pleasure.
Are you here? Mr. Precious?
Yes, I'm here.
All right. So now that call phone is the first fintech in Nigeria, is there a noise in the background? Okay. I said now that call phone is now the first fintech in Nigeria to be granted full commercial license by CBN as a payment solution service. What does this mean for small and medium businesses in Nigeria? What's the benefit to have to their businesses?
All right, thank you very much. The PSS license is a categorized license from CBN, which comprises of the super agent, the payment terminal service provider, and the PSS payment service solution provider. That aspect now talks to the payment gateway. So narrowing it down to the question you just asked, in fintech, in the fintech industry, we have what we call the B2B, that's the business to developers, and we have the B2B, which is business to business. So to the SMEs, that's where we come in for them. The business to developer means that small businesses don't necessarily have to have a robust IT team that will begin to build IT infrastructure for them, the codes, the programmers, and the rest of them. We've handled this and we've packaged it in what is called the B2D. So their developers can leverage on our application programming interface, that's the API, to plug into bouquet of services that we have. So we help the small businesses to cut down them engaging in robust financial pressure that will come to them as being able to hire developers, being able to have a robust team to be able to build a payment solution. So we have an API that helps them solve that problem. They can plug into us and be able to, their consumers can access services like the bill payments, their consumers can be able to integrate on our payment gateway for checkout on their platforms for those that are into e-commerce. So that's where we play in for the small businesses, those that want to go into agency banking. We have that license. We have our PTSP. We distribute POS terminals to them at a very cost-effective for them to be able to have our POS terminal to deploy to their agents. This is where we come in respect to helping the SMEs.
All right. This is very interesting, and congratulations once again. Before we continue, if you have any questions, please, you can still put it in the question and answer section so that it can be answered by our speakers. Mr. Bamidele, you are one of the employees of our host today, and that was why I'm bringing you last. Can you tell us what the impact Net POS has on small and medium businesses and how the company is helping these businesses thrive in Nigeria?
Thank you for that question, Sasra. So I'll speak to two key areas that Net POS is assisting SMEs in, right? The first one is one of our social, we call it the Net POS Mini, right? Can you hear me, please?
Yes, I can.
Okay, good. We call it the Net POS Mini, right? And it's so this is basically it's not just a POS device, even though it's a POS device, but it's also a telephone. So what we call it, our mantra for it is that it's not just a POS device, but it's a box for SME businesses. This solution basically what it does is that it combines a smart POS device and merchant applications, because there is no payments are enhanced by, especially digital payments by solutions. So it also combines the merchant application with multi-payment channels.
Okay.
This device is certified by NIPS, and it's dual purpose. It can serve as a smartphone, and also it has core capabilities. And the apps that we have there also ensure that the merchants are able to receive payment for businesses, digital payments, but more importantly, something I want to chip in, it's also omni-channel. So it supports pay links, it supports account transfer notifications, and also QR codes. And we're also doing some work with our partners to ensure that, because one of the trends we've also seen is that our customers, SMEs, entrepreneurs are in business because of their customers, right? And one of the trends we've seen also about digital payment solutions is buy now, pay later, right? Yeah. So one of the things we also incorporated even into this device, working with our partners to ensure that a merchant that has this device is able to provide buy now, pay now solutions also to its customers. Of course, that way you more or less you can extend yourself, because people can pay for it now. They don't have to pay. People can buy it now, you don't have to pay for it. So that's the first one, the network, which I said in summary is a telephone, but also a smart POS that is enhanced with omni-channels for pay links, account transfer notifications, QR code in that regard. But the second one also with virtual, which we're also working on, which we also recently got certified by NIPS, is our contactless application. And I think I spoke to it briefly when I gave the example of a friend of mine. Yeah. What this basically does is that it converts an NFC-enabled Android device to a POS device. It thereby enables the device to accept contactless debit cards. We believe that this is a strong tool for SMEs, considering the challenge I spoke to earlier also about the issue of them could not be in the addressable market. So more or less what we've done today is we've worked with the card schemes, MasterCard and Visa. We took their SDK. We then developed a payment app on top of those two SDKs that enables a telephone such as the one in my hand, right? Just a normal telephone. You could just tap an NFC-enabled card on it, and it becomes a POS. We believe that this will assist greatly, right, in reaching the 98% of SMEs today that the banks have overlooked, because, in quotes, they don't have the model, their financial, should I say, the revenues that they have on a monthly basis will not fit into the model the banks have. So those are the two key solutions that we have developed to ensure that we're able to improve the digital payment experience of small and medium enterprises.
All right. Thank you so much. We appreciate our speakers. Thank you, Mr. Bamidele. Thank you, Mr. Asha. Thank you, Mr. Precious. Thank you, Mr. Timileyin, for creating time to educate us about this payment systems and what the government, because some of us feel the government's really not doing anything, but I guess we would have a change of mind right now. And I was also surprised when I think it was who said Nigeria is foremost in the progression of digital payments in Africa and even the global financial space. So that's very interesting to know. So thank you so much to our speakers, and thanks to everyone who have attended this webinar. Before we go, we have a short video to play, and after that, Linda from Business Day will be rounding off this session. Thank you so much. My name is Satira Osemudiame, and the video will come up shortly. We can't see the video.
What is your understanding of the role of the media today? In an increasingly changing and uncertain economy, when it comes to the news, what should the media mean to individuals and businesses? Imagine our society without the media. There is no substitute for a factual, balanced story. At Business Day, we don't just inform you, we empower you with intelligent insights and analysis that keeps you ahead of the competition and well-positioned to take advantage of opportunities whenever. To stay informed, join our exclusive community of Business Day subscribers and receive unlimited access to our award-winning content on desktop, mobile, and tablet devices, and get access to our daily e-paper. Visit www.businessday.ng/subscribe or email subscription@businessday.ng to get started.
Linda, you're on mute.
Okay. Hi. Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for attending this month's webinar. We're really more than happy to have you. And we just always like to have this monthly event for small scale businesses to tell them also about the things that we do. We try to provide them with information that can help them grow their business. So if they want to subscribe, they can check Business Day. We've also created kind of like a package for small business owners to also advertise at a discounted rate that won't break the bank. So it comes with adverts on the site and then also subscription. So if they need any more information, they can send an email to linda@businessday.ng or also contact us via social media. Thank you. Thank you, Esther. Thank you to all our speakers. It was a really nice one. Thank you. And to everyone listening, thanks.
Thank you so much, Linda. To everyone who has attended this webinar, we say thank you, and we hope to see you next month at our next webinar session. Thank you to our speakers. Thank you for the insights, and we hope everyone has learned something today, taking notes, although I expected many of us to ask questions, but I guess the speakers had already answered many of our questions. So thank you and have